Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. We welcome all the listeners to this wonderful show. You are listening to RADIOMAC live from the heart of Bradford on 107.1 FM, and I'm your host, Humair. And subhanallah, this is the wonderful drive show program with our wonderful guest in the studio, Alama Maulana Sayyid Hamdani Shah Sahab Ahmad Barakatum Al Aliyah Qudsiya, who's in the studio, who blesses the studio every time they come. We pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them not only in this life but the akhirat, and we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses them to keep doing these wonderful, wonderful shows. Ameen, summa ameen. With this note, let's welcome our wonderful Maulana Sahib in the studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And how are you doing today?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah ala kulli hal, with your wonderful dawaz. I'm doing perfectly fine. And subhanallah, as you were, Maulana Sahib, this is our regular program. We are continuing the fazilat of wudu as well as ghusl now. We are on the second part of Ghusal. People are enjoying the programs. It is also a question and answer program which we will leave in the last half an hour. Now, Maulana Sahib, is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners before we do start the program, inshallah?
I'll get straight into it.
Straight into it, inshallah. Inshallah, when you're ready, you can start.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidil Mursaleen. وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد قال الله تعالى في القرآن المجيد والفرقان الحميد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على سيدنا ومولانا محمد معدن الجود والكرم وآله وبارك وسلم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم هو الحبيب الذي ترجى شفاعته لكل هول من الأحوال مقتحم فاق النبيين في خلق وفي خلق ولم يدانوه في علم ولا كرم يا رب بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا واغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم. Alhamdulillah, it's an honor to be here once again, bringing this show and talking about fiqh related rulings which are a part of our life every day. Last week we started the topic of ghusl, the ritual bathing. We mentioned some factors which necessitate ghusl, and we also mentioned some things which are impermissible whilst a person is in the state of requiring ghusl. One of the factors which we said leads to ghusl becoming necessary was the night emission, which is known as ihtilam in Arabic. So today inshallah we will make a start from there. So there's a few extra rulings regarding the night emission. We'll mention them, and inshallah after that we will go on to the obligatory acts of ghusl,
inshallah.
So with the night emission, there's a few rulings. So firstly, because this happens during sleep, you may not be completely aware of what's happened because obviously you're in your sleep. So the ruling is that sometimes during your sleep you might feel that you have had a night emission, but upon waking up you see no wetness.
Yeah.
So in that case the ruling is that if you wake up and you see no wetness, no sign, then in that case ghusl is not necessary upon you, even though in your sleep you may have thought something has happened. but that's, you can say it's a common thing. Like whilst you're dreaming, you might have dreamt that you've had a night emission, but in reality you haven't. So the ruling is that if you wake up and you see no wetness, no sign of semen on your clothes, then the ruling is that you won't have to perform ghusl. And then the other way around, that if you can't remember anything from your dream, that you had a wet dream, but you wake up and you find some sort of wetness, and you're sure that this wetness is not like water that has come from somewhere or something like this, you're pretty sure that this has to be semen, then in that case the ghusl is going to be necessary. So even though you can't remember having a wet dream, but if there's a sign of that, you can see semen on your clothing or it's wet, and there's no way that this is going to be something else, then in that case it is necessary for someone to perform ghusl. So these are like two rulings regarding this night emission. Now we move on to a few other things which are factors which don't necessitate the ritual bath, which is the ghusl. So firstly, madhi. So one of them is madhi. In English this is known as pre-ejaculation. So before you actually ejaculate, before that there is this thin liquid which comes out from the male private part. Now this does not necessitate ghusl. The madhi, it doesn't necessitate ghusl, but it does nullify the wudu. So for example, if someone did have this pre-ejaculation but then they didn't end up ejaculating, in that case their ghusl will still be intact, but yes, their wudu has become nullified. So if they want to pray salah, they would have to perform their wudu and then perform salah. Then the next thing we have is wadi. Wadi in English, this is a sort of liquid which is released due to illness, or it could be because of the body being under strain. So when you pick something heavy, sometimes what can happen is you might end up discharging a liquid. Now wadi and madhi, these are thin liquids compared to the actual semen. Semen is much thicker, so you would be able to distinguish between them. Wadi is also released due to an illness. So if someone has an illness, then sometimes you will see this thin liquid before or after you urinate, and you'll be able to see that it is different to your urine. So wadi, again, this wouldn't nullify your ghusl. So this is important now you know this, because if someone has this issue, then they need to know that their ghusl is still intact, so they won't have to like perform ghusl every time they urinate or something and they see this thin liquid. They wouldn't. It would only nullify the wudu. And obviously if you only see it when you're kind of urinating, so your wudu's going to be invalid anyway. You'd have to perform wudu after that. If you picked up some heavy weights and stuff and you released this discharge at that time, then in that case your wudu would become invalid, but your ghusl is fine. The other thing where ghusl would not be necessary, so like we just mentioned previously, that seeing a wet dream without finding wetness afterwards. So you have this in your mind that you've seen or you've had a wet dream, but upon waking up you see no wetness. In that case ghusl wouldn't be necessary. The fourth thing is inserting medicine into the rear. So if for medical reasons you had to enter medicine, so maybe like some sort of pipe, tube or something, which had to be inserted in the back, in that case your wudu would get nullified, but your ghusl would still be fine. This wouldn't nullify your wudu. And number 5, inserting the finger into the female genital organ, or the rear in that case. So by inserting a finger or anything similar to that, a finger, so any sort of machine or something like this doesn't nullify the ghusl. So it's only when the male private organ, when that enters into the female organ, that's what nullifies the ghusl. But if it was a finger or something else, in that case that wouldn't nullify the ghusl. So these were some factors which don't necessitate ghusl. So the reason why they get mentioned is maybe someone might think that they do, but they don't. Now we move on to the obligatory acts within ghusl. So in wudu we mentioned the full method of how to do wudu, but there were certain acts which were necessary. So the wudu would be incomplete if they weren't fulfilled. So there was 4 in wudu, and here in ghusl we have 3 things which are fard actions, meaning if they are incomplete, so either completely missed out or not completed to the extent that they should be, then in that case ghusl would not be valid and a person would still be classed as impure. So if they were bathing when ghusl was necessary upon them, and if they didn't perform the ghusl properly, they would still stay unclean. So and obviously, as I've mentioned in the previous week, that it's very important to make sure that you bathe correctly, because if someone is required to perform ghusl, so let's say they've had a wet dream and ghusl has become necessary upon them. Now if they don't perform their ghusl correctly, then after that, no matter how many times they perform wudu, they would still be classed as unclean. So it is important that when you do your ghusl, you make sure you do it properly, because obviously you're not gonna do ghusl as frequently as ghusl. So exactly. Okay, one time you didn't perform your ghusl properly, then okay, a few hours later you'll do it again or something, and yeah, that might be fine, then you might end up doing it properly.
Yeah.
But because it's not so frequent, if you perform ghusl incorrectly one day, then let's say maybe 2-3 days later you might perform ghusl again. Now during that time, if you didn't perform your ghusl properly, during them 3 days, none of your salahs would be accepted, even though you might be performing wudu for every salah, but because you're still unclean and you're required to perform ghusl properly, your salahs won't be accepted. So that's why it's important that when it comes to bathing, you perform that correctly and give yourself the best chance of your salah being accepted. This is a common thing which people don't focus on. It's important that you learn this from a young age, the things which are necessary in ghusl. So the first fard action is rinsing the mouth. Now in wudu, we mentioned this as well, that rinsing the mouth in wudu is sunnah. So if someone missed it out, their wudu would still be accepted, but you shouldn't make a habit of not rinsing the mouth in wudu, because it's a sunnah practice. If someone makes a habit, then not only is the reward of wudu reduced, but you would also be sinful as well if you constantly leave a sunnah which is emphasized. So rinsing the mouth and cleaning the nose, this is an emphasized sunnah in wudu. So if you make a habit of missing that out, your wudu would still be valid, but you would be sinful. So in wudu, rinsing the mouth is sunnah. So the validity of your wudu is not dependent on you rinsing the mouth. But when it comes to ghusl, in ghusl, washing the mouth, rinsing the mouth, this is a fard action. Meaning if this is not complete, then your wudu your ghusl will not be valid. So what we mean by rinsing the mouth is the water needs to reach every part of the mouth, including the back and the throat area of the mouth as well. So the best way to ensure that the water has reached everywhere, so instead of taking a bit of water in your mouth and then trying to move that around the mouth and making sure that it reaches everywhere, a better way is that you get a good amount of water and put that in your mouth, and that will, so if you fill your mouth with water, the water will automatically reach everywhere, rather than you trying to force the water and trying to move the water around in your mouth, because there's a possibility that okay, it might have not reached a certain area of your mouth. But if you fill your mouth with water, the water automatically reaches everywhere in the mouth. And also allowing the water to reach the back of your throat. So you try and emphasize this whilst performing ghusl, that you make sure that the water reaches the back of the throat properly. This is for someone who is not in the state of fasting. So because the month of Ramadan is coming up, so it's good that we are aware of this as well. That in the month of Ramadan, when you're fasting or whenever you're fasting, you will not do mubalagha when rinsing the mouth. So meaning you won't gargle with water going close to your throat, because there's a chance there that if the water goes down the throat, then your fast will get nullified, even if it was accidental. So for a non-fasting person, they need to make sure that the water is reaching the back of the throat. But for someone who is fasting, they won't take the water close to the throat, but the rest of the mouth will still need to be washed. So that was the first fard action in ghusl. The second fard action is sniffing water into the nose. So again, in wudu, this is a sunnah act, to sniff water into the nose and clean the nose. So if someone didn't do this properly or accidentally forgot to do this in wudu, the wudu would still be valid. But when it comes to ghusl, it's a fard action. Your whole ghusl is dependent upon you completing this step properly. So sniffing the water into the nose, this is probably not the most desirable thing for people to do, that they actually sniff water into the nose, because sometimes if you sniff too hard, you feel the water go up the nose and it's not a good feeling. But that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't clean your nose at all, or the water isn't reaching inside the nose. I've seen many people do wudu, and this step is something which people perform incorrectly. They literally get water in their hands and the water just literally touching the tip of the nose. It's not even going inside. There's no force trying to clean it, and it's literally a 1 second little quick touch that you've just touched the nose, the tip of the nose with water, and they feel that they've done justice to cleaning the nose. Now, if it's being done in wudu, then it's still incorrect, because you're constantly not sniffing water and cleaning your nose properly. So you do become sinful, because you're leaving an emphasized sunnah all the time. But if someone has a bad habit during wudu of not washing the mouth properly or cleaning the nose properly, then there's a good chance that when it comes to ghusl, they'll do the same. They won't clean the nose properly in ghusl. So that's why you make sure you're in a good habit, that even during your wudu, you're cleaning your nose properly. So if you were to perform ghusl, then you'd clean your nose there correctly as well. So in the nose, there's two bones. One is the hard bone, which is further up in the nose, and underneath that there's a soft bone. Now the water needs to reach the soft bone. In Arabic it's known as marin. So that soft part of the nose, the water has to reach. So you can understand that by touching water on the tip of the nose, there's no way the water is going to reach that soft part. So you need to make sure that the water reaches that soft part of the nose at the very least. And if there's anything around inside your nose, you need to make sure that you clean that with your finger, because that might prevent the water from actually reaching the inside skin of your nose. So two fard actions so far. So rinsing the mouth and sniffing water into the nose. And because ghusl is less frequent, even if someone sniffed the water a bit hard and the water ended up going further up in the nose, then firstly, medically it's not harmful for every now and then for the water to go up the nose. So that's not something to worry about, that I'm going to get ill or it's going to lead to illness or something. Medically it's not a problem. Every now and then, I don't mean like loads of water going up the nose. So when you do require to perform ghusl, if you did just emphasize this by sniffing the water slightly harder, making sure that it has reached the inside of the nose, then inshallah there should be no problem with this. At least you will be satisfied that I have performed my ghusl properly and I've fulfilled this fard properly. The third fard action is passing water over the whole body. So the next thing is that once, so these two are fard actions. Now at the moment we're just mentioning the actions which are necessary during your ghusl. We're not actually mentioning the order of how you're going to perform the ghusl. So the third necessary action is that you have to run water over the whole body. So every single hair, every single portion of your body needs to get wet. The water needs to reach every single place. So there's certain areas where water may not reach easily, so you need to concentrate when performing a ghusl that you make sure that the water reaches there. So for example, if you just stand underneath the shower, the water will not reach below your arms, in your armpits. The water will not reach there itself. So you'll have to move your arms about and make sure that the water is reaching there. If you're standing up and having a shower, then the area between on the side of your legs, so like you can say like the inner thighs, the water will not reach there itself. You'll have to make sure you move around a bit and make sure the water reaches there. So obviously nowadays we've got so much water, I don't think anyone has excuse to not have wet their body fully. Yes, you can understand if there was shortage of water, someone might have because of that ended up leaving some area dry or something. But because we've got so much water, there's no reason for any area to be left dry. So these are three actions which are fard in ghusl. So if any one of them is missed or not completed properly, the ghusl will not be valid. Now we'll mention some of the sunnah actions, and this will also mention, like whilst we mention the sunnah actions, we will also go through the full method of ghusl from start to end. So the first thing you should do when performing ghusl is you make an intention. So again, we've talked about intention before, that it doesn't have to be a verbal intention. Intention is connected to the heart. So as long as you have an intention in the heart that I'm going to perform ghusl now in order to become clean, then this is sufficient. So if you just have this intention in the heart that I'm going performing ghusl in order to become clean, and then obviously perform the worships which are obligatory upon me, then this is a good intention, and you would get reward for then carrying out this action of ghusl. But ghusl can be done without an intention as well. So you might wonder, like, how are you going to end up having a bath without the intention? For example, like you jumped in a pool or something. Yeah, you jumped in a pool, the water reached everywhere in your body, and then you ended up gargling and cleaning your nose at the same time, but you didn't do that with the intention of ghusl. So sometimes, even when we're having a shower and we're not intending to do ghusl, sometimes you might still clean your mouth, like let's say you brush your teeth and you clean your whole mouth and then you just start cleaning the inside of your nose, but you don't have the intention of performing ghusl. Your ghusl will still be done even if you did not have the intention, but obviously that won't be rewarding as it is when you actually make an intention that I'm intentionally going to have a bath and clean myself in order to perform worship.
And now, Mulana Sahib, just for clarification purposes and for the listeners out there, if someone is gone to have a shower and they've not performed ghusl, and in their head they said they thought they were going to perform ghusl but they didn't, are they able to pray namaz now or not? Generally, obviously, when you shower, you clean your whole body, but they haven't
Yeah.
done the ghusl.
If ghusl was required,
Yeah.
so someone, it was necessary for them to perform ghusl, even if they didn't make the intention, but they ended up washing everything correctly, they washed the nose and they gargled properly, then in that case the ghusl is still valid. Yeah, it would be valid. But you know, most of the times, because our people are not aware of these rulings, like people go for a shower and they don't actually perform ghusl. They'll just run loads of water on their body. They'll stand under the shower for minutes, like for ages. They'll stand under the shower and just run water, so much water on their body,
Yeah.
but they won't clean their nose and stuff. Even though, and we'll come to that. So sometimes you have people like this. If they're not actually performing ghusl, they'll just go. They'll wet their body loads. They'll put loads of water on the body, but they won't clean the nose and stuff. So sometimes, like that, if someone performs a shower like this, then obviously they've not performed the ghusl.
Yeah.
But what you should do is every time. So even if ghusl is not necessary upon you, every time you go in the shower, you should make an intention of performing ghusl. Just like
Yeah.
if someone's got wudu, you can perform wudu again just to purify yourself. And similarly, though you've already got a ghusl, you're not in need of performing a ghusl, but if you're going for a shower, just make the intention. Because then what happens is when you make the intention, you read Bismillah. Now every bit of water that you're going to use, this is going to be a means of reward because you're doing extra cleaning. You're cleaning your body more. So every time we go into the shower, this is the intention we should make, because that way it's not going to be like an action which goes to waste. If you don't make the intention of performing ghusl, then there's no reward of having a shower. Yeah, for example, in the summer months, people might have multiple showers because of the heat. So just to cool your body, if you're having a shower, is permissible. Yeah, but it's not rewarding. There's no reward in this. But if you are performing, like you're going in for a shower because you're hot, you're sweating, or you've just come back from the gym, then if you make the intention of performing ghusl, then that action of yours is going to now become rewarding. Instead of just like, even though like you'll achieve what you wanted to, just clean your body and just to cool your body down, but if you made the intention of ghusl at the same time, then it becomes a rewarding act. And this is what we should do as Muslims, that as many actions of ours we can make rewarding, then this is of benefit to us. So it wouldn't be like a useless action in that sense. So making an intention, this is sunnah. So that's what we begin with. So before you enter the toilet, make an intention verbally if you can. If you don't make it verbally, then even inside the toilet you can make an intention in your heart without saying anything. So that would be fine. Then reading the tasmiyah. So obviously this would be done outside the toilet, that you say Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, and then you go into the shower and you begin to wash yourself. The first thing that you're going to do is wash your hands first. So even though they might be clean from before, but this is the method that you start off by washing both the hands. Secondly, you remove any impurity on the body. So if there is physical impurity on the body, then you remove that first, you wash that away. So for example, if someone had impurity on their chest or somewhere on the shoulders, don't think that, okay, first I'll gargle, I'll rinse my nose and stuff, and when I come to wash my shoulders, I'll wash it then. Why? Because if you start washing your body whilst you have impurity on the body, that impurity will spread. So what you need to do is try and remove that impurity first, wash that impurity, and then start performing your ghusl. That way the impurity won't spread everywhere on the body.
Another quick one, obviously, Maulana, generally when people have kids, when they have newborn babies or they have babies 1, 2, 3 years old, if any of their impurities goes on the clothing of the individuals or on the body, would they have to perform ghusl now? Are they able to wash it or?
No, so they don't have to perform ghusl because there's nothing that has invalidated their ghusl, but they need to remove that impurity from their body. So they need to wash it. Now sometimes, obviously, if you end up getting it on your thigh, like if your thigh gets impure with the baby's urine, then you'd still have to go into the shower to wash it off. It's not like you can wash it off in a sink or something. But if you had it on your hand, then you can just wash that in the sink. But it doesn't invalidate your wudu, and nor does it invalidate your ghusl. It's just that you need to remove the impurity from that place.
It's sometimes always good to understand these things because a lot of people have babies.
No, there's a lot of women that ask this question that do we have to perform wudu after changing a nappy and so on. So there's no reason to perform wudu again. It doesn't invalidate your wudu. So touching an impurity doesn't invalidate the wudu. It's that when the impurity comes out of your own body, that's what invalidates the wudu. So to remove any visible impurity on the body, and then after that, wash the private parts. So even if there isn't any impurity on the private parts, you still wash the private parts. That's sunnah. Once you've washed the private parts, now you start to perform wudu. So here, we're doing ghusl, but your wudu is done within your ghusl. So once you've washed the private parts, now you'll start washing. So you've already washed your hands, and then you'll start gargling. So you'll gargle, you'll wash your nose, just like you would in wudu, making sure that you've washed the inside of your mouth properly, you've washed your nose properly. Then you wash your face, you wash your arms, and you even do masa. So you even do masa of your head. So even though, because you're performing ghusl, you're gonna wash your head later, but at this moment in time, you should do masa. This is the correct way of performing ghusl, that though you're gonna pour water on your head later, but because at the moment you're performing wudu within your ghusl, you would still do the masa. You'll wash your feet. So complete your full wudu. Now once you've completed your full wudu, then you've already washed your nose, you've already washed your mouth, and these two things were necessary in ghusl. So they're done, you won't need to come to them again. They will be complete within your wudu. Now you've washed your face, arms and stuff, so the water has reached these places. Now once you've completed your wudu, you'll start pouring water over the head. So the first thing that you do after completing your wudu is you pour water over the head. Now once you've poured water over the head, like the water will reach places of your parts of your upper body. After that you pour water on the right shoulder, then the left shoulder. Now by pouring water on the head, the right shoulder and the left shoulder, you've washed like your upper body. So when you pour water over the shoulder, the water will go down your arms and so on, and it'll go around the chest area and so. So that way you've just washed the upper body. Now your lower body you still need to wash. So if someone stands under a shower or they pour water over their head, yes, the water will run down to the legs, but you've not actually washed your legs properly yet. So you can't just pour water over the head and think that, oh yeah, my legs have gone wet as well now, so it's fine, I've washed all my body. No, the way the water will run onto your legs, it's going to run in little streams. So it's not necessarily
Yeah,
going to wash
exactly.
all your leg. So when you pour water on your head and your shoulders, you're washing like the upper part of your body, and then you would have to wash the lower part as well separately, making sure the water reaches each leg. And and to wash your body 3 times, this is sunnah. So similar to wudu, that washing each limb 3 times was sunnah. So here as well, so to wash your body fully once, this is necessary. Then to wash it 3 times, this is sunnah, and that will ensure that you've definitely washed every part of your body and the water has reached everywhere. Rubbing the water whilst you're bathing, this is something good. And but because here, like, there's no shortage of water at all, but if there was shortage of water, this is a good technique to ensure that the water reaches everywhere with using less water.
Yeah.
So if you get some water and you rub that water on your limbs, then when you pour water, the water will run onto your skin even better. So you by using less water, the water will still run onto your body because your limbs are already moist. Now sometimes when the limbs are dry, completely dry, you'll need more water in order to wet them thoroughly. So that's why the scholars mention that if you rub your limbs with water before you wash them, then you'll end up using less water. So these were some of the sunnah actions, and within that, the order of ghusl was also mentioned. Now, finally, to finish off, if you're performing ghusl in a place where the water is gathering at your feet, then what you would need to do is, before you come out from that place, you'd wash your feet again. But if the water was draining all the way whilst you were performing your ghusl, the water wasn't actually gathering near your feet, then in that case you won't need to wash your feet again. So when you wash them during wudu, that will be sufficient. You won't need to repeat that washing. But if the water was gathering, in that case you'd have to wash your feet and then step out from that place. So that's the method of ghusl completed, alhamdulillah. So start to finish, the actions which you need to do were all mentioned. So I hope that was of some benefit for our listeners. So I mean, this is something very fundamental. Everyone should know how to perform the ghusl, but maybe some of the things mentioned, like in the order that it should be done, or some of the extra things which should be done, might have been new for some of our listeners. Now, the actual ghusl is of a few types as well. So just like we mentioned about wudu was of a few types, ghusl is also of a few types. One is fard ghusl, so when ghusl is necessary for you to perform. One is sunnah, so it's proven from the sunnah that the Prophet ﷺ bathed on these occasions. So for you to bathe on them occasions, this would be sunnah. And then there's some occasions where it's preferable to perform a ghusl, so it's mustahab. So now we look at each one. So where is it fard? Where is it necessary for you to perform ghusl? The factors that we mentioned before which necessitate ghusl. So if any one of those factors are found, then in that case ghusl becomes necessary. So it's not optional. You have to perform ghusl in order for your salahs and stuff to be valid. Then where is it sunnah? So presuming that someone is clean, they are not in need of performing ghusl, it would be sunnah for them to perform ghusl on the following occasion. So for the Jummah prayer on the day of Friday, to perform ghusl, this is sunnah. So even though you're already clean, you're not in the state of requiring ghusl, but for you to perform ghusl on a Friday, this is sunnah. The Prophet ﷺ would perform a fresh ghusl on Fridays. The Eid prayer, so before going to the masjid for your Eid prayer, for you to bathe that day is also sunnah. Now, the common thing between these two is that you're going into a big gathering in the masjid. So you need to smell nice, smell clean, because you're going to be standing with people, you're going to be meeting people. So you don't want to be like someone who doesn't smell pleasant. So you clean yourself before you go to the masjid. And obviously, there's other sunnahs of Jummah and Eid prayer that you apply some sort of perfume before you go, and so on. Before wearing the ihram, so the third place where it's sunnah to perform ghusl is before you wear the ihram. Now, because it's sunnah, if someone didn't, so without performing ghusl, they put their ihram on, it would be fine. Now, sometimes like when people go to perform umrah or hajj, if they're stopping somewhere in between, it may not be easy for them to perform ghusl. But I'm sure in those sort of airports where they do have pilgrims who travel, so let's say you take Qatar or Abu Dhabi or something like this, they have shower facilities as well. But if you're unable to perform ghusl before wearing your ihram, then it's fine. It is sunnah. So if you tried but it wasn't possible for you, then it's fine. You can still wear your ihram. Just make wudu and then wear your ihram. On the day of Arafah, so on the 9th of Dhul Hijj, the day where the pilgrims they gather in the plains of Arafah, that's one day before Eid. So Eid is on the 10th of Dhul Hijj. So on the 9th, this is known as the day of Arafah. So to perform ghusl on that day, this is also sunnah. Now, some of the places where it is mustahab and preferable for you to perform ghusl is before you enter Madinatul Munawwara. So if that's possible, the scholars say that this is mustahab, that you make fresh wudu or you make fresh ghusl and then you enter this blessed city of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So again, this is something possible. There's masjids like on the way to Madinatul Munawwara before you actually enter the city. It's like they've got service stations where you can stop, you can pray a salah in the masjids, and they have wudu facilities and even shower facilities that I'm pretty sure some of the masjids or places will have. So if this is something which is possible for you, this would be great. And obviously when entering into the blessed lands of Madinatul Munawwara, you try and show your utmost respect. So you clean yourself physically before you enter the blessed lands. Upon embracing Islam, so someone who, if someone accepts Islam and they enter Islam for the first time, then it is mustahab for them to perform ghusl. Now this is for someone who was already clean, but now they've accepted Islam. So for them, it's preferable that they perform the ghusl. Now, before they embraced Islam, none of these things were applicable to them. So if they had a wet dream or they had intercourse and stuff, the ghusl wouldn't have become necessary upon them anyway. That's something for Muslims. So if someone embraces Islam, then it is mustahab that they perform the ghusl. So obviously they'll be performing the wudu to pray their salahs, but for them to perform their ghusl first, this would be very good because they'll clean themselves fully. After washing a dead body, now just wanted to elaborate on this because people don't know this ruling correctly. So remember, to perform ghusl after washing a deceased body is mustahab, so it's preferable that you do this. Now the reason behind it is if you were to wash a body, there's a good chance that droplets will come onto your clothing or your body. So, and them droplets of water could be impure. So if they had some sort of impurity, so there's a chance that on your body impurity has come. That's why it's mustahab for you to just have a shower and make sure that you are completely clean. Now, if you are sure, definitely, if you're 100% sure that the impurity has come onto your body, then you'll definitely need to wash that off. But because there's a chance that these droplets of water are coming onto your body whilst you were washing the disease, therefore it's preferable that you also perform ghusl and you become clean. But this is mustahab. People think that it's absolutely necessary after washing a disease that, oh, we have to go and perform the ghusl. And the way, like, I didn't know people think that it's so important to perform ghusl after washing a disease. I found out once, I actually went to wash a disease as well, and this was in like peak winter. So in peak winter, after the Zuhr Salah, if you go and like wash a disease, then the time between Zuhr and Asr is very short, and then even Asr and Maghrib. So this person who I went with, we washed the body after quite a bit after Zuhr. So then we had already entered into the Asr time. So we washed the disease. Now on the way back, after washing the disease, I was ready to go to the graveyard for the burial and the janazah prayer. Now this person who was with me, he was like, you know what, I have to go home and perform a ghusl. And I was like, we've not even prayed Asr Salah yet. We need to pray Asr because the time is short. We're running out of time. It's nearly going to be Maghrib Salah. And he was like, oh no, but I need to perform my ghusl first. So I told him that, look, this is the ruling that it's mustahab. Now you can't miss a Salah because you need to perform ghusl in this case. Yeah, because it's only preferable for you to perform ghusl. So if there was not enough time or there's no means for you to perform ghusl, this doesn't mean that you miss your fard salah because of a preferable bath. So I hope this was something new for our listeners, and if now that you know this, you need to be able to pass this on to other people as well, that if they've attended washing the deceased, then it's preferable for them to perform ghusl, but it's not necessary. And especially if there's a time of prayer which is running out or is short, you need to make sure you pray the salah on time and not leave the salah thinking you are unclean and you're in the state of requiring ghusl. 15th of Sha'ban, so this is another place where it's mustahab. So on the night of the 15th, so after Maghrib Salah, it is recommended that you perform ghusl. And also any virtuous gathering. So if you're going to a mahfil, a milad mahfil, or any other gathering, a virtuous gathering, then it's mustahab that not only do you perform wudu and go in a clean state, but if you perform a ghusl and clean yourself fully, then this is preferable and it's good to go in that state to the masjid. So these were the different types of the ritual bathing. So sometimes it's fard, sometimes it's sunnah, and sometimes it is mustahab. So that's pretty much the chapter of ghusl, inshallah, complete. And next week we will discuss the tayammum, inshallah. So even though, like, we'll look at some of the rulings, but it is something which everyone needs to know about, because there might be a time in our life where we need to perform tayammum for ourselves, and generally just knowing the information is good, because you'll be able to help others if they were in need of performing tayammum. You can actually tell them that, okay, if you meet the conditions, it's valid for you to perform tayammum, or whether it's not valid for you to perform tayammum. So inshallah we will look at that next week.
Inshallah. Jazakallah khair. With that note, we will be going on to a commercial break. We will be back to answer your questions and answers. Please do stay tuned on 107.1 FM. During this time, if you would like to ask any question, give your views or opinions, contact us on 01274. It's 570-900. Yes, it's 570-900. We will be back after this commercial break. Do stay tuned on 107.1 FM, inshallah.
He was Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
This is RADIOMAC Shaban broadcast on 107.1 FM, the voice of the Muslim community. For more information or for advertising, ring 07951 477093.
Muhammad, mercy upon mankind.
RADIOMAC Pakistan flood appeal. Approximately 30 million people have been affected. 20 million people are homeless. 1,000 plus people have died and 13,000 plus people are injured. RADIOMAC is raising funds to help the poor and destitute people who have been affected by this flood. £30 for a day, hot meals to feed 100 people and £80 for a tent. Donate now. Bank transfer Humair Shahid, Halifax Bank, sort code 110082. Account number 12335364 or visit the link tree linktr.ee/RadioMac Bradford and click the first link to make your donation.
Zamzam Travel and Tours. We specialize in flights, money transfer, Hajj and Umrah. We also do worldwide tickets and worldwide hotel bookings. The best and easy way to take care of flights, hotel bookings and money transfer in one place. Zamzam Travel and Tours, 539 Great Horn Road, Bradford, BD7 4EG, opposite Tesco's. 01274 574 072.
A unique name in the world of fast food, Amigos Bradford, from where you can get tasty mouth-watering pizzas, burgers, shakes and much more. Delivery service available. Amigos Bradford, open Monday to Sunday, 4 p.m. till 11 p.m. Order online at amigosbradford.co.uk. 503 Otley Road, Bradford, BD2 4QL. Order line 01274 786 100.
Save the Mothers Trust is a UK-based charity formed in 2003 with the aim of helping those in poverty and hardship to become self-sufficient and independent. Support our many projects around the world including Food Aid, World Water and the SMT Maternity Hospital. Donate your zakat, sadaqah and lillah by calling 012 74 270 043 or visit smtrust.org.uk. With your continued support, we can help make a difference.
There are lots of little things you can do to save money on your energy bill, like turning your boiler flow temperature down to 60 degrees, swapping to an energy-saving light bulb, switching off unused appliances, dialing down the temperature on your washing machine, closing all of your curtains at night, and if you can, finding and filling drafts. On their own, they may not sound like much, but they all add up and could save you hundreds of pounds. Visit gov.uk/save energy for all of our energy saving tips.
जिंदगी में एक मर्तबा ऐसा वक्त भी आता है जब क्वालिटी सर्विसेज, कन्वीनियंस और भरोसा हमारे लिए अहम बन जाते हैं। इसकी एक मिसाल है ब्रेडफोर्ड में सेफको कैश एंड कैरी, फ्रेश क्वालिटी ग्रोसरीज, ए ग्रेड HMC सर्टिफाइड मीट, एक ऐसी सर्विस जो बरसों से खानदानी बिजनेस ही दे सकती है। और आप सेफको से अपनी तमाम ग्रोसरीज और मीट ऑनलाइन भी डिलीवर करवा सकते हैं। सेफको कैश एंड कैरी, safecobradford.co.uk।
क्या गल है अंकल जी? पुत्रा पुलिस बकु करी चोरिया टायरानी वजह नाल तुसा की आख्या सी ना टायर बदलाओ और तू की पता टायर क्या दे महंगे वे कोई चंगी जी ता सस्ती जी जा दस ना।
Champion Tyres Limited, 13 to 22 inch part 1 tyres for cars, vans and 4x4s. If you buy 4 tyres, you get a free laser tracking check. Champion Tyres Limited, 26 Gale Lane, Bradford. Call 01274 641 845. Special offer for taxi drivers, tracking from £10.
पाकिस्तान में हालिया सैलाब से लाखों अफराद मुतासर हुए हैं और हजारों खानदान बेयारो मददगार नकल मकानी पर मजबूर हुए हैं। आइए मुसीबत की इस घड़ी में हम उनकी मदद करें और फैमिलीज रिलीफ की पाकिस्तान फ्लड रिलीफ अपील का हिस्सा बने। हमारी वेबसाइट familyrelief.org.uk का विजिट करें या हमारे कॉन्टेक्ट नंबर 0114 365-4454 पर राब्ता करें।
Do you want a career where you can make a real difference to West Yorkshire's communities? Are you a people person with good communication skills? Can you work both independently and as part of a team? If so, then being a police community support officer with West Yorkshire Police could be the role for you. Recruitment is now open and the salary starts at 23,100 plus shift enhancements, increasing to over 32,000 over 4 years. To apply, visit the West Yorkshire Police website. RADIOMAC is raising funds for an eye surgery camp where people with cataract in their eyes can receive an operation for its removal. One operation costs approximately £35. The camp is located in the north of Punjab, Rajanpur, a very poor area where your support will be absolutely vital for its success. Please donate now. Ring 01274 570 900 or 0793 66 77403.
He was Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
This is Radio Mac Shaban broadcast on 107.1 FM, the voice of the Muslim community. For more information or for advertising, ring 07951 477 093.
Muhammad, mercy upon नबी की याद से रोशन मेरे दिल का नगीना है नबी की याद से रोशन मेरे दिल का नगीना है नबी की याद से रोशन मेरे दिल का नगीना है नबी की याद से रोशन मेरे दिल का नगीना है वो मेरे दिल में रहते हैं मेरा दिल भी मदीना है वो मेरे दिल में रहते हैं मेरा दिल भी मदीना है नबी की याद से रोशन मेरे दिल का नगीना है नजर अफरोज है रंगीनिया फिरदौस की लेकिन नजर अफरोज है रंगीनिया फिरदौस की लेकिन जो तस्कीने दिलो जान है वो आका का मदीना है जो तस्कीने दिलो जान मोहम्मद का सफीना है कि हम जिसमें है बैठे वो मोहम्मद का सफीना है वो मेरे दिल में रहते हैं मेरा दिल भी मदीना है नबी की याद से रोशन
Subhanallah, yes, we do welcome you back to this wonderful show. You are listening to Radio Mark live from the heart of Bradford on 107.1 FM. Me and Maulana Sahab were just on a little break. I hope all the listeners have been enjoying today's wonderful program. It is the question and answer segment. Let's welcome our wonderful Maulana Sahab back into the studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa
And Maulana Sahab, we will go straight on to the questions that we have had over the course of a number of weeks. I hope all the listeners have been enjoying today's wonderful show. I hope that it has made sense regarding Ghusal, and I hope if you do have any other questions in the near future, contact us on 01274. It's 570 900. Yes, it's 570 900. And Maulana Sahib will try answering whatever we can, and whatever is left we'll move on to the following week. So we'll go straight onto this question. The first question is by our lovely brother Bilal Ahmed. He's saying, Assalamu alaikum. How do we concentrate and have punctuality in namaz, especially for those who are busy? Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I think we talked about this last week. We've
Have we answered them? Okay.
yeah, so
Did we get to reading in Arabic? So yeah, I don't think we answered this question. So we'll go on to the question about Sister Sana Majid. She's saying, Salam, how are you? Most of us read namaz and don't really read any of the surah, just Surah Ikhlas, and don't really know the full English translation of what we are reading in Arabic. Is the namaz accepted? What should we do? Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The surah and the portion of the Quran that's recited in Salah, even if someone doesn't understand what they are reading, they don't know the translation, the Salah will still be accepted. So in terms of validity, the Salah is fine. But obviously, in order to engage and concentrate and feel the spirituality in your Salah, then this would definitely be a step that you try and learn the translation, or at least know the concept or something, whatever is being talked about. When people ask that, look, how do we concentrate more in our salahs rather than going off track and thinking about something else, one of the main things is that you try and know what you're saying. So just like if you were speaking to someone in English, then your mind would be more focused on what you're actually saying. So because you're saying this in Arabic now, the Quran, but if you had the meaning running, and remember, Salah is like a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in your prayer. So it's important that you do try and learn the translation of at least the surahs that you are performing. Now, this again goes back to how much priority does one give to their religion, because it's not a very difficult task for someone to learn the translation of Surah Al-Ikhlas, or even look at the translation and know like what's being talked about and so on. It's not a difficult job
100%.
if you prioritize your religion and you spend some time in doing this. And I know people who just read Surah Al-Ikhlas in their salah. So like literally in every unit, this is the only surah that they're reading. The scholars mention that if someone only knows so obviously they know Surah Al-Fatiha, but alongside that with the surahs, they only know Surah Al-Ikhlas correctly. So other surahs, they'll make mistakes and that tajweed is not as good in the other surahs, but with Surah Ikhlas, their tajweed is good, and that's the only surah that they can pronounce correctly. Then for that sort of a person, it's completely fine for them to just be reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas in every unit of their prayer, because that's the only way their prayer is going to be accepted. rather than them trying to read something that they don't know or they're going to read incorrectly, it's better they restrict to something that they do know correctly. So if that sort of a person is just reciting Surah Al-Ikhlas, then for them it's fine. But someone who knows other surahs as well, and they can pronounce them with the correct pronunciation, with the tajweed and everything, then in that case, for someone to just restrict to Surah Al-Ikhlas, this may show that, look, this being slightly lazy in their prayer, that they're trying to finish their prayer quickly. Rather than reading a longer surah, they're restricting to a shorter surah just so they finish their salah quickly. Now, if someone is doing it for that reason, then this is not good for someone to just be restricting, and it becomes makruh, and it's disliked for you to repeat the same surah in every unit, even though you know other surahs as well. So like I've mentioned, so if that's the only surah you know and that's the best you can perform, then yes, it's fine for you to read that. But even that person, at the same time, they should try and learn new surahs. Yeah, they should try and practice other surahs. Again, comes back to how much priority one gives to their religion. So if you're going to live a life of 40, 50, 60 years and you don't even know Surah Al-Ikhlas yet properly, or you don't know Surah Al-Fatiha properly, then it's very shameful. Now, I mean, to be like a student of knowledge for me, for myself, it's easy to say this, that, because alhamdulillah, I'm being a hafiz of the Quran myself. So it's easy for me to say, oh, why can you not even learn like 1 or 2 surahs? But I mean, you're not expected to learn the whole Quran or like the whole 30th juz, but at least 5-10 surahs. I mean, this should be possible for everyone, no matter how busy your lifestyle is, no matter what sort of a job you do. I think it just comes down to priority. Yeah, because if you can go to university, college, get a degree, do this, do that, so you've got the brains to do all of that, but you don't have the brains to learn a few surahs of the Quran by heart. I mean, no one can say that this is true. Yeah, it just shows lack of priority. So if you are someone who only knows 1 or 2 surahs of the Quran, then I think you should think and regroup and think, you know what, I don't think I'm giving enough priority to my religion, and you should sit down and connect yourself with the Quran, and the best way is by you trying to memorize these short surahs.
Basic, and not only that, but Maulana Sahab, when you do look at the translation of at least Surah Al-Fatiha and at least Surah Al-Ikhlas, at least it will make you more inclined to have khushu and khuzu in namaz, because we always talk about this. Some people don't tend to know what the meaning of khushu and khuzu is. And it's generally just to be more closer to Allah. And bear this in mind, if we're reading something, so example is this, me and Maulana Sahab are having a conversation and I want something from Maulana Sahab, but I start speaking Mandarin to Maulana Sahab, he doesn't understand Mandarin. Or I'm saying Mandarin but I don't understand what I'm saying, but I'm just trying to converse with him and he understands it. And he's thinking, what is he saying here? And then Maulana Sahab replies to me and I don't know what Maulana Sahab said. You're going to think, what's the meaning of it? Because I'm asking you something, I've just said what I wanted to say because I've memorized it. I've just memorized it by heart and I've just said it. But now you've responded and I don't know what you said. It's having like that conversation, because you're having a conversation with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Yeah. For example, sorry to interrupt, like Surah Al-Fatiha, it's like a dua.
Basic.
Now, if you don't know the meaning of this, imagine like you're just reading a dua which you don't know the meaning of. You'll never get that feeling of humility when asking for that dua and that connection. So, you know, like when you're actually like begging someone for something, you need to at least know what you're saying. So with Surah Al-Fatiha, if you're asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to put you on the right path, and you're asking for this guidance from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you don't know the meaning, then your words will not hold that weight. Yeah, you won't get that connection with well, I mean, I'm saying your words, but because it's not going to be your own words, it's going to be the words, so they'll still have that weight, but you won't get that connection because you don't know what the dua means. And even like after your salah, the duas that you make, the Rabbanas from the Quran, then we should try and learn the meanings of them du'as as well. And okay, if we stick to the Arabic wording, which is more beneficial, but at least we know what they mean, so at least we know what exactly we're asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Bishop, 100%. Maulana Sahib will go on to the next question. The next question is by our sister Inaya Kausar. She's saying, Assalamu alaikum, how are you? Can I glance at my children while reading namaz to see if they're okay, etc.? Is this not allowed? And Maulana Sahib, just to put some context into that, sometimes if they have a baby, they might be on the bed and they're reading namaz, or might be somewhere just to have a look over, is that acceptable or not? Jazakallah khair.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Yes, it's in that case, if you need to glance just to make sure that the baby is safe and stuff, then this is permissible. In Salah, when you've started your Salah and you're facing the Qibla, you're not supposed to move your head, so you're not supposed to turn away from the Qibla. But to roll your eyes, that's permissible, and especially if it's done for a valid reason, then it is permissible for you to roll your eyes and check. So even in that case where the questioner is saying, is it okay for me to glance, then if you mean rolling your eyes, then yes, that's completely fine. But you having to turn your head round or to a full side and stuff, and then you're checking up, then this becomes more problematic. So if you are praying your salah and you're looking after a baby as well, then when you face the Qibla, you try and just keep the baby like close to you. So if you were to just glance at them by rolling your eyes, you'd be able to see them. Then that's something which should be possible for women like that to do.
Jazakallah khair. And Maulana Sahib, just to clarify for some people obviously that don't know, because we get this question asked frequently, and obviously none better than yourself to answer it. People say if you look elsewhere, so sometimes someone's reading namaz, whether it be in the mosque or in the household, someone's reading namaz, they're trying to concentrate, then they start looking up, obviously not moving their head or anything. Is their namaz broken? Because sometimes people think that your namaz is broken, that you have to start namaz again, and they're unsure about that. But obviously it wouldn't be advised to tell people to keep looking up, you're allowed to. But over to you, Maulana Sahib, if you just...
No, like I just mentioned that rolling your eyes will not break salah in any case, whether it's done for a reason or without a reason. But it will definitely affect the khushu and khuzu, your concentration in the salah. So if when you're standing and you're looking at your chest, or you're looking down towards your place where you're going to perform your sajda, then that will give you more concentration, because you're trying to obviously detach yourself from your surrounding. But then if you're going to start looking up, this will definitely affect your concentration. So if you're going to do it without a reason, then it is still wrong, because you're not allowing yourself that concentration. And I mean, it's very hard if someone says that, look, I can roll my eyes everywhere in my salah and I'm still very connected in my salah. That would be difficult for someone to claim that. So it definitely will affect your concentration. So you need to make sure that you don't look around. But if you did roll your eyes, it would not invalidate your salah or anything.
Jazakallah khair. Maulana Sahib, we'll go on to the last question and then we'll take our leave, because we do have the next presenter on air, coming on air inshallah very soon. This question is by our brother Mansoor. He's saying, Salam, how are you? If the TV is on but no volume, same goes for radio but low volume, is this allowed when reading?
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Again, anything which will become a means of distracting you in your prayer. So having the TV on, so if the TV is like right in front of you with no volume, then that's very problematic. But if the TV was on the side or something, the volume was down, then in terms of permissibility, it's fine. Yeah, the salah would be permissible, but why would you have the TV on without any volume, without a valid reason anyway? But anyway, the salah would be fine. And same goes with the radio with the low volume. If it's not going to distract you in your prayer, or you're not going to be like thinking what's being said on the radio at the same time, then it's fine. Obviously, you'll have background noise, like for example, praying in a place where people are talking or there's people in your surroundings. The prayer is still fine, but if this becomes a means of distracting you from your prayer, then this is not something recommended.
Jazakallah khair. Maulana Sahib is coming to the end of this program. Any last words that you want to say? And inshallah, we'll be back here next week. Same time, same place, with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if you let the listeners know what next week's topic will be as well, inshallah.
Inshallah, if you have any questions in the meantime, then please do send them in and we'll try and answer them in English. So obviously for our English speaking people, if you want your answers in English, then it's an ideal time for you to send your questions, and hopefully next Thursday, inshallah, we will try to answer them.
Inshallah.
Also, our next the topic for next week. So today we've completed the rulings regarding ghusl. Next week we will talk about tayammum, so the dry ablution. And as I mentioned previously, that this is something which all Muslims should know about, because there might be an instance in your life where you're not able to use water because there isn't any water, but there's more instances where you may need to utilize dry ablution, and it's not only when there's no water, there's other situations where tayammum can be applicable. So inshallah, do join us next week
Inshallah.
to learn about those issues as well.
Jazakallah khair. Inshallah, Maulana Sahib, we'll see you next week from us. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Allah Hafiz.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And yes, that was our wonderful Maulana Alama Sayyid Hamdani Shah Sahib Ahmad Barakatum Al Aliyah Qudsiyah, delivering a wonderful program about fiqh and the rulings of ghusl. I hope all the listeners have enjoyed it, and inshallah we will be here tomorrow, next week, same time, same place, with the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. With this note, if we have said or done anything wrong, please find in your heart to forgive, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is pleased with those who forgive. And from me, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. Allah Hafiz.